Hi, Jason. Welcome back to Leading and Serving Podcast.
Thanks, Chris. It's good to be here. How are you?
Good. Another wonderful day.
I know. It's almost feeling like spring out.
I know. It's weird.
But it's not.
Well, by the time this drops, it could be.
No, winter's going to come back.
You think so?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to. It's got to. The snowiest month of the year is March, right? Which is when this will be dropping. So
yeah,
I think we're in for it at some point. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Everything's
just got to get better from here, though, right?
It's got to. I need a little warmer weather. Yeah. So I'm a warmer weather kind of guy.
You're going on a vacation soon to warm weather, so.
I know, but by the time this drops, I'll be back from that ready for warmer weather.
Another one? Yeah. Okay. Goodness.
So,
hey, we're glad you guys joined us today on the podcast. We're over at leadingisserving.com. If you want to leave us a rating or review, share the word. If somewhere in this moment you're like, oh, so and so needs to hear this, share it with them. Send them a link. Man, we'd love to hear from you guys. Send us a message. We're taking nominations for leader interviews as well as peer-to-peer mentoring groups. If you want to get involved in a group through the Uncommons, we would love to connect you with that.
Which is getting ready to kick off here real soon.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Super excited about that.
We can't wait.
If you have not been part of that, a peer-to-peer mentoring group,
or if you're like, what in the world is that?
Or if you were, or you even have that question. If you have either one of those questions, you need to reach out because it is game changers.
Yeah.
That one thing alone has significantly impacted me.
Yeah, it's groups of leaders who are learning to fight for the highest good of one another.
Right.
And man, it's valuable.
And it's
incredibly valuable.
There's a lot of groups out there that are, that are just, man, it's changed a lot of people.
Yeah. So
anyway, sorry.
Hey, so today we're going to fold back on a conversation we had a few weeks ago on the podcast. All right. We had somebody write in asking, how do I know what's missing in my business?
I do remember that question. Yep.
Of just saying, how do I know? And we, went down the road of frustrations. That we use the airplane analogy from Business Made Simple with Donald Miller, right?
Right.
Where we talked about the different parts of your airplane represent different parts of your business. And
correct.
If you're feeling frustrated in any one of those parts, that's probably what's missing. That's probably what's,
something needs to be fixed.
Falling apart, right?
Yep.
So, but then I started thinking about that even more on the backside of that. And a conversation we had last fall of talking about how really anything that we're going through in a business is related to leadership.
True.
Because people are behind it all.
Right.
And one of the parts of the airplane is the leadership.
Right.
The leadership sits in the cockpit of the plane, flies the plane, makes the decisions, the direction, and things like that, right?
Right.
But then you've got the products and services were your wings, the engines were your sales and your marketing, the body is your overhead, the fuel tanks are your cash flow.
Right.
Right. And so as we think through each of those areas of our businesses, all of those really boil back down to leadership.
Right.
Back to people.
Right.
I mean, let's take the easy one. Or at least I think it's the easy one.
Okay, go for it.
Cash flow.
Yeah.
Okay? Cash flow is what it is.
Right.
It's in, it's out, right?
Right.
If you don't have it coming in,
you definitely can't send it out.
Well, there is that very basic truth.
Right. I thought we were sticking with the basics. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, but tying it back into leadership, if you don't have money coming in, why?
Right.
Why is that?
What's going on?
All of that, I think pretty much, there can always be banking issues. There can be things where a check gets held up or, didn't get written properly or, et cetera, et cetera. And, the link with my banking is down and now I can't get the deposit, whatever.
Right.
But those are temporary.
Right.
Yep. And so long-term cash flow issues are going to relate back to people in terms of how's your sales engine running?
Right. And
sales is driven by people.
Yep.
How's your lead generation running? Oh, guess what? That's run by
people. Right.
Well, but I've got an excellent strategy for that, Chris.
Yeah.
But who runs the strategy? People.
And who's leading those people?
You.
Leadership.
Yep.
Cockpit guy.
Right. And, we've talked about giving influence. We've talked about giving the proper amount of authority and responsibility.
Yep. We just talked about that.
In employing our leaders, right?
Right.
And so do they have the ability to make the changes necessary to affect that area?
Yeah.
Right?
And is leadership listening to pushback or conversations that are happening in that area
Right.
that need to affect change? And maybe it's not that side of the fence, right? Maybe it's not the sales side. Maybe it's billing. Maybe billing's not working.
Yeah.
Maybe sales is rocking it. The guys are getting it fixed. As things are making happen, but the billing is not following up fast enough.
Yeah.
Keep up.
The invoicing isn't being sent out. It's
Yeah,
not,
those are they're all key pieces of that situation that maybe billing struggling with I know we just went through, we had some issues with our billing and I don't know, was it billing or, it was accounting, but we had to change our program because we just got fed up with it. The program sucked.
Right.
And it just was like, juice, this is making our job 10 times harder.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the case. And so I was
Leader listening to the input of someone else.
Yes, exactly. So I had to
influence the systems and strategy of
right. And so we had conversations I don't know exactly what we need, so tell us what we need and let's start researching this. And honestly, I actually asked them to do the research on it because I didn't quite understand what needed to change or what needed to be better. So they did, and they were able to go out and find something that they thought was going to be better. And
you go.
It's never comfortable to make that change. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
It did not feel good. And the crazy part is I didn't even have to take the brunt of it, but it's still never comfortable to make those changes.
I don't know what you're talking about. Change is always comfortable, Chris.
Oh. Well,
not really.
I'm not even sure what to say to that.
Yeah.
I'm dumbfounded.
Because it's always uncomfortable. Always, always, always.
Apparently, it's a little different in your world, Jason.
Yeah, no. But, you mentioned about leadership listening to the feedback.
Yeah.
That sometimes the issue, we can get frustrated with our sales department that you're not making the sale. You're not closing. Right. And we see that as a leadership problem.
Right.
But maybe what we're not listening to as owners, as leaders, is that people actually don't want our product.
Oh, that's a problem.
Or we're pushing the wrong product.
Yeah.
That's certainly an issue of going, this one means a lot to me.
Right.
That this is maybe what I founded my business on, but you know what? A lot of people don't even need it.
Right.
But this other product that we sell, everybody's going for that. But I want to push sales toward the product that nobody's responding to.
Yeah.
I've seen that situation in the past of
really?
Why are we pushing this? It's not resonating with people.
Right.
And so being willing to listen to that feedback, even of things that we are holding dear and we're holding close to, going, this matters to me. Well, you might be in the minority on that.
Right.
And it's time to listen to the feedback of what people want. And sometimes we push, you have to think through, I think we mentioned this on that podcast, talking about the frustrations of pushing the item that has a small profit margin, but costs less.
Yeah.
Versus the item that costs more, but has a larger, you sell fewer of it, but it has a larger profit margin. And listening back to your accounting people, your finance people, of going, when we sell 10 of these versus 100 of these, this makes the business stronger.
Yeah.
And listening to those things and shifting and narrating your strategies differently because of that feedback.
Right.
That we're willing to listen.
Right. Which makes the team stronger. When going back to the airplane stronger. Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah, which you might be your own team.
Right, yeah. If you're
you might be the only person.
If you're a solopreneur and you're up flapping your arms trying to act like a plane, you go, boy.
That's right.
You just go.
And we know your arms are tired.
Right, we do.
Man.
I so know what that feels like. Been there, done that.
You're working on one wing when, you're trying to refuel the cash flow, but you're also doing the pre-flight checks in the cockpit. Man, we know.
We so know.
And
our heart goes out to you.
you're like,
stay strong.
That'd be awesome if I had team members I could listen to.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I mean, I don't know if you've been through this or not, but like as a solopreneur, like I used to get frustrated with people who were like, well, you should just hire somebody. Well, you should just walk in my shoes first.
Right. Right.
You walk in my shoes and tell me that I need to hire somebody. Like, yeah. So if you're out there cranking it, trying to make this happen, and I'm listening to this and trying to make your world better, keep rocking. It's gonna get better.
Keep flying. Keep flapping.
That's take these words of wisdom because they're gonna come around.
Yeah. But so what? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
All of these. No. This is just the next step, right?
Okay. Okay. Good.
So what? Out of all this. Okay. My sales, my marketing, my products, services, my overhead, my cash flow. Okay. Those are leadership problems.
Mm-hmm.
So what? I'm supposed to listen to people?
Right.
Okay. Whether I have a team or I'm listening to coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Chris, how do we become better leaders?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know, for the longest time, I think that what I did as a solopreneur who couldn't afford a lot, I listened to podcasts. Like I would dive into these things. And I mean, I've told you guys multiple times, like I've listened, Dan Miller, I listened to him for the longest time.
Right.
And I mean, I would listen to this podcast too, because I love the fruit that comes from it. And I would just pick a few podcasts and focus on those. And I mean, that's kind of why I love the fact that we've kind of scaled back a little bit. So like they're 20-minute increments because it's just easier to listen to on a quick jaunt to work or even running from job to job where you can squeeze these in. Because these little tidbits, it's amazing where they pop up in your day-to-day life where you might not even, the crazy part is I've sat down and listened to something in a podcast, then had a friend going through something and been like, hey, dude, this is what you should do. Because I valued the information so much that I knew that they could use it.
Right.
But I couldn't implement it in my business quite yet, but I also knew that they needed it. And so, use these tools like this and reach out to us. There's and the new things that we have coming, like we keep talking about the ironing sharpened iron in the peer-to-peer mentoring groups. Like, man,
what an opportunity.
Even if it's a small cost, like those will pay dividends past anything that you could see, that you could see at the beginning. And I think that's my struggle for some people is they don't see the value in them right away. I don't know how many times I've talked to other business owners who are involved with a peer-to-peer mentoring group. And I'm not talking about a BNI group, just for clarity, because I think that some people think that those are the similar.
Gotcha.
Like we're talking like a mastermind group. And so this group, his whole function is to help each other out, to help each other grow inside their business. And you know what? Every week's not going to be about you. So sometimes you have to feed into somebody else.
Right.
And sometimes when you least expect it, they're going to feed into you. And then at that point, you're going to go, aha.
Right.
That's when these kinds of things as a leader are great opportunities for you to soak in other information from other leaders.
Right. Yeah, and I think the trap that is easy to fall into, and this is why I love coaching so much, not just being a coach, but doing coaching for others, is that, you mentioned podcasts. I love listening to podcasts.
I do too.
And I've got enough in my library. I'll save that episode. I'll listen to that. And next thing I know, I'm like, good grief, I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of podcasts.
And not enough time to listen to them.
Well, but I could crank them out. I could, queue them up and hit play and, just run down the list and go, oh, those were great episodes.
Right.
But if all we do is learn.
Right.
And we never learn to apply what we're learning, we're never going to become better leaders.
Well, and that analysis paralysis thing, like it's a real thing. Like, so I can sit there and
I've lived in it for 98.9% of my life. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, and it's like, but you can sit there and crank out every one of those podcasts.
Right.
But I guarantee you couldn't implement every one of those because you'd be overwhelmed with the amount of information that you wouldn't know where it would fit in.
Right.
So it's like pick a couple podcasts, pick 3 or 4 or 5 podcasts that you want to dive into each week,
Right.
and try to. I mean, I've gotten to the point now where I try to pick out a golden nugget out of a book or out of a podcast.
Right.
There's just so much going on in my world. If you threw a whole bunch of golden nuggets at me at once, I still couldn't pick them all up.
Right.
Like, so I am limited to these 2 hands and what I can do with them.
Right.
So
Right.
if I pick up 1 or 2 in each hand, as far as I'm concerned, that's good. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Because I had to realize that it didn't matter how much information came at me. If I couldn't absorb it and use it, then it didn't matter anyway. It was a waste of time.
Yeah. So there's a really simple process to think through this.
Okay.
Okay. That you take the issue that golden nugget identifies, and you call out the problem. You're like, here is what the struggle is. Here's the pain that I'm dealing with.
Okay.
Call out that problem. And then the next step is to own it, to recognize your role in it and go, okay, that's how I need to shift my behavior to avoid that pain or fix that pain. Okay. And then create a response to it. What is the action that will counter that situation in my life? Okay.
Right.
We go back to our cash flow issue. We have horrible cash flow.
Yeah.
And the calling it out is the invoicing stinks.
Yeah. Right.
Owning it, going, yeah, I procrastinate on that.
Right.
I wait and I don't send stuff out for 2 weeks. Okay. Owning that. Responding and saying, what is the action that's going to fix that? Well, now I'm going to sit down once a week.
Right.
I'm going to trade up. I'm not going to do it every 2 weeks. I'm going to do it once a week. And I'm going to force myself into that. Then the final step is execute. Like, how am I going to do that? What's going to hold me accountable? What's my plan? Do I need to time block that moment out on Mondays or Fridays or whatever day?
Right.
And so you got to call out the situation,
Right.
own it,
Right.
know what actions in your life are contributing to that pain,
Right.
respond to it. What's the healthier action? And then what's the plan to execute?
Right.
And we've got to begin putting that application into place.
Right. I completely agree.
Because if we don't act on what we've learned, we're just a bin of knowledge sitting in the corner. And
that does no good.
I was cleaning out. Let me rephrase that. I haven't cleaned it out yet. I've got a corner of one of my offices.
Yeah.
And I know what's in it. I know it's a paper box.
Okay.
And it's full of stuff
Yeah.
from one of the times I cleaned my office before. It's the box of stuff like, do I need to keep it or do I need to not? Do I need to dump it?
Right.
I didn't dump it because I wasn't sure if I could,
Right.
because I'm horrible about that,
Oh, you and me both.
And so that box has been sitting there and I've not dug anything out of it in a long time.
Yeah.
Am I going to act on it?
The
I've
crazy.
got to dig that out because it's just useless information. And we can't be that we can't.
And the fact that you brought it up, even though you're not admitting to it, there's at some level, which I do this too. Like, I'm speaking to me just as much as I'm speaking to you, because I totally do exactly what you've done. Yeah. And I've already been down your road multiple times, right? And the crazy part is what I didn't realize is that little nugget that's sitting in the corner of your room that's got the papers in it is also sitting on your brain, as far as like taking up space and preventing you from whatever it is, like that release of it.
It might be a gold nugget when you put it in,
right?
But if it just sits and collects dust, it's not a gold nugget.
Nope.
It's not.
Yep.
It might have been
so
good,
true. So true.
Right. So, don't let our podcast be the box of dusty papers in the corner of your office.
Right.
That's the moral of the story.
Right.
How's that?
There's leadership 101, right?
Yeah.
This get back to the leadership.
Clean out the office of your brain and start putting stuff into action.
Right.
And
don't get overwhelmed with the idea that you have to put everything that comes into you in action, because nobody can. I mean, there's only so much you can do.
Right. If your plane's crashing, look back to people.
Right.
You, others, and not from a critical stance, but from a education stance,
Right.
the learning of what's going on. How can we make things better? How can we improve as leaders?
Right.
Even if that's the person at the bottom of the ladder,
Right.
they're leading something.
Right.
And so how can we become better leaders?
And ask them, like, hey,
That's
what
novel idea.
What do you think we should do? I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day. Like, I don't need to know all the answers. It's okay.
Right.
Like, I
Right.
just need help.
Well, when we were coming in this morning, you were talking to one of your guys on speakerphone,
Yeah.
and I heard your team member who's under you say, "Hey, I think we should bring in so and so and see what they have to say about it."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, look at you guys go! Look at
Right.
that!"
I think
So,
it's a great idea.
yeah. Listen, learn, apply it,
Right.
and your plane will fly better.
It so will.
Yeah. And yeah. Hey
So,
guys, thanks
thank-
for tuning in.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks for listening to us talk about these little golden nuggets.
Yeah. Jump over to the website, leadingisserving.com. Nominate a leader. Let us know you're interested in
Send us an
peer-to-peer
email.
mentoring groups. Send us a voicemail. We'd love to hear. If you got a question that you'd like us to,
Address.
ramble on or soapbox on, or
Right.
we would love to hear from you. So
Yep.
you guys go fight for the highest good of one another.
Yep. Have a great
Let's
week.
do it.